This is a late night hustle type of tutorial, if you will. Good evening, good evening. My name is Nikki Damquitz. I am the Sassy Summer. And one of the most asked questions that I've gotten recently, because I talk about it, is how do I laminate my yard signs? Now, I learned how to laminate my yard signs from the ever so amazing Mr. Marvin, but you learn a lot from the TikTok. Don't mind if you hear the dogs in the background, but you learn a lot from the TikTok, right? It allows for you to pick up little tips and tricks. And while I picked up one that kind of made my workflow just a little bit easier, and one that I struggled with a lot less, and that was lining up the yard sign sticker decal, if you will, to the corrugated board. It made life just so much easier once I got this little tip and trick. So I'm going to pass along the tip and trick to you. Now I've changed the camera view, because, you know, it's always about a changing of a camera view. So good evening to everyone. This might not mean much to anybody, but you know what? If you happen to order yard signs from myself or from Marvin, sometimes we just send you the decal. And what you're going to need for this tutorial is a cold laminator. I'll talk about that when I get over there. You're going to need a straight edge ruler, a rotary cutter or X-acto knife, some sort of a cutting implement, if you will. You're also going to need that corrugated board. I get mine from GSG. You can kind of get them from all over the world, but it's what it seems. And this is how we're going to do it. It's really not that hard. And once you figure it out, you go, aha moment. This tutorial was brought to you in part by asking the question was Miss Mary. Miss Mary asked me if I would do this for you guys, so I am doing this. Hopefully she'll be able to go back and watch the rewind. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to flip over. Before I flip over, if you're coming up on my end as a Facebook user, you know, those fabulous users, you need to let StreamYard have permissions so that I can see your name when I'm looking into my phone. So there you go. Let me flip over the camera so I can get to the right one. There we go. That is the right camera. And there you go. What that sign is sitting on right now is a cold laminator. Now, I have two cold laminators. The one that I have a smaller one and I have a larger one. All right. And these are the yard signs that we're going to do. Now, let me explain to you a cold laminator. It is just that. It is cold. It doesn't use any sort of heat. It has these two rubber coated, this has got, so, you know, protection on these rollers. This kind of folds up and then you can store it away. I actually stand mine up on end because I don't have any room. And yes, I do have this wonderful contraption on a stool. Why? Because the table I have to put it on is currently being toppled over with shirts. So you do what you got to do in a pinch, but here you go. Don't judge. Okay. So you have your cold laminator. You're going to need a corrugated board. Now, please understand when you get your corrugated board, they come with flutes. These flutes on the inside. Okay. So you have them they can go, this is the vertical or can go horizontal. You got to pay attention to what it says. Okay. So if the dimensions are 24 by 18 and the flutes are going this way, it's going to be on the vertical. But if it reads 18 by 24, the flutes are going to go up and down. That's kind of important when you're kind of looking through ordering these, which direction you want your yard sign to go in. Now, you can have your yard sign in any direction that you choose. These are the same yard signs that we cut shapes out of as well. So this kind of technique is going to work for everybody. And I know you guys are seeing my butt right now. You're welcome. So there is that. So let's get this party started. Let me get the phone where I can see everything. I know you can't see me. You have to look in the little camera. Okay, hold up. Give me a second. So let's try this again. I've got cameras in all sorts of directions. I got this camera and I got this camera. Right? Okay. So again, vertical, horizontal, you can cut these. You can cut them with an X-acto knife. I don't know which camera to even look at right now, but you know, you're going to just deal with it. So this camera right here that you can see my sunshiny face is going to see my back. This camera over here is where you're going to see the cold laminator. I will be bringing it closer. So first things first of what I do, we're going to bring this camera closer. And I'm going to actually make this bigger. So give me 1 second. So you don't need to see my face or my back. So give me a hot second. I just want to clear everything out so you can see this bigger on the screen and not necessarily me. Because that's the important stuff, right? Right there's the important stuff, is this thing right here. Okay. So this is your cold laminator. All right. Again, it has the, yes. I know I've done a lot of signs this year too. So these are the coroplast, corrugated, whatever you want to call them. It's not really any wrong way, but let's get to it. So I know that my sign's got to go this way. Okay. So this is also going to be a double-sided sign. So when I'm cutting, I don't even trim it. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't trim it until after. It makes it a lot easier for me to trim it after. And the reason being is it's just in case if I'm off. All right. So for the first side, I'm going to trim this side of it. And there'll be all this overhang. Again, don't let it bother you. Now, how I do this and how you do it is going to be two different things. I get that. Some people will line it up. I put an overhang. It's hard to see right now. All right. But I do put an overhang. So this design is 18 and a quarter by 24 and a quarter because I want the overhang. All right. The overhang for me is important that it's there because, again, if I'm shifted anywhere on the bottom. Okay. So I've lined it up. Now, first things first, before I do that, give me 1 second. I want to make sure because I just use this for doing other things. Now, if this is too tight, you're going to end up pinching this. So you really want to make sure that these are nice and loose so that when you're rolling this through this board, because I don't use the handle. I don't even think Marvin uses the handle, or Mel for that matter. I don't think any of us really use the handle. Okay, there we go. Okay, you want it to roll easily in there because, and I'll show you why, if it's too tight, it pinches it, okay, and it curves it. So you don't want that, okay? So this one will be okay once I get it through. So you want to be able to go through this with ease, okay? If you think that you're getting air bubbles, when you're getting through here, you can just do a tight, you'll know. Let me get it to where I know. Okay. Okay, because if it's too tight, it starts to pinch it. If it's too loose, then you're going to end up with air bubbles. Well, we don't want the air bubbles. Okay.
Nikki, here is your reminder. Med.
I love when it always happens to come right at the time. Okay, just so you know, I need to take my meds. Okay, so I line it up right to the edge. Pinch, hold. Now, I will grab this top edge so that I know that it's nice, and I will just wrap my hand right around this edge right here. Okay. It's okay that it bends. It's not a big deal. Don't. This is just a plastic sign. It's not like rocket science here. Okay. And I literally. Okay. So this, there we go, is probably a little tight. Let's loosen it a little. Yeah. You'll know. You got to be able just to put it through. Anyway, once you get that point, flip this back. I apologize for my dogs who have decided, you know what, Mom, you're live. Let's do this. So I will pull this so that it comes all the way up here, and I lay this all the way down. Okay. I then take it. I don't know if you can see me. I'm going to see if I can't move this camera a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Let's see if that brought it closer. I'm just looking at my camera angle just so you can see what it is I'm doing. Perfect. Okay. So I laid this up on top. This piece that is here. Now, I used to literally have to weight this down and have it over there, start it, cut the paper. I don't do that anymore. I literally hold this up, take this excess piece, tuck it under, not over, tuck it under so it tucks in nice and tight into here. And then I just roll this back. Okay. And now there's the start. I'm going to flip this and literally just push it through. Now, I will show you what happened, and this is a good tutorial for this. Luckily, I can fix it because I'm good at it. Okay. So there is an air bubble in this sucker. Okay. And the problem with air bubbles is that means your pressure isn't going to work. Okay. So how do you resolve this without having a panic attack? Take this first and put it on top because you don't want it to, you're going to rip it off. Okay. I'm just going to tell you right now, I will do the backside. So what happens is if this isn't tight enough, you end up with these weird air bubbles. Okay. You don't want these air bubbles at all. But how can you fix that? You could do exactly what I'm doing right now. You could push them through because this means this isn't tight enough. All right. So you can try to get those air bubbles out. You can also take a pin to it. I'm not a fan of the whole pin thing, but I will sit here and try to massage those out. Okay. That's one way of doing it. And I'm showing you this because it happens. It happens to the best of us. And if anybody tells you, oh, that's never happened to me, then you know what? Yeah, okay. You clearly are just a better person than I am because this has happened to the best of us. Just guide it out. And you can. And just keep doing it. Slow and steady is going to win this race when you're trying to fix it. Okay. You figure out where that is, where those little bumps were, because I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it. Because I'm determined I am not printing this again. Okay. Now that I've gotten to where the bubbles are, right, I'm going to do myself a solid. I'm going to put this paper right back on here. Okay. This is one of the pitfalls to this particular thing is that this does happen. All right. And I want to show you that even the best people in the world struggle. Normally I don't do this live, but you know, hey, that's where we're at. Okay. I'm not worried if it's bubbled on the paper. I wanted to save this sign. Okay. Which I did. Go me. Okay. And it's because it had that divot. So I want to just make sure all those bubbles are out. We are out. We are good. I saved the sign. Okay. If you take your time with this, you can save it when it crinkles. Don't go ripping it off. Okay. That's another thing. Just don't go ripping it. It's not going to do you any good. Flip this back over. Pull that paper up and go at it again. And just like that, with the exception of one air bubble, which I can deal with. Oops, I forgot to. All right. And that's right in here. I could deal with this. I could get this out. Okay. I'm not worried about it. Now we're going to do the back side, but I'm going to trim this up first. How do you trim it up? I trim it up with an X-acto knife, to be very honest with you. It's the easiest thing for me to use is an X-acto knife, which I need to find mine because I was using it earlier. Hold on. Where did I stick it? You can use scissors as well. And you can use a rotary tool. Let me just go get mine. It's over at the other table. I apologize. And then we'll do the back side. All right. So let's back this up just a little bit. Okay. Take your X-acto knife and just literally go down the edge. Okay. You start. And I typically do this standing up. I don't know why. I don't lay this down at all. Okay. Make sure your knife is nice and sharp too. This has been cutting a few things. So there's going to be that problem. There you go. Nice and sharp knife. If you're going to be doing yard signs, you can just trim it up. And now you've got a nice trimmed edge. You will not care if it does this at all. I mean, it does happen. Again, I just poke it and just leave it right to the edge. Now, everybody has a different way of doing this. Okay, there is no right or wrong way. Okay, there's a bunch of us who have roll-ins or eco-solvent printers, I should say, and we all do it differently. We all do it, whatever method works for us. Okay, and I'm just going to get in here, trim this edge up, trim it down. Now we're going to do the back side. Now, when you're doing this, okay, I'm going to trim this edge up because this is a good also reason. I could trim this edge up and no one's going to know the wiser, but this is why you want to make sure that everything's all set where it needs to be. All right, we're going to do the back side now that I've got my tension where it needs to be. When you're doing the back side, okay, prior to, I trimmed this edge first because this was the edge I worked on first. And I'm going to trim the opposite side. So when I flip this around, literally, it's the same. Okay. So now we're going to do it. And now we're going to do it as if Nikki's never going to screw this up ever again. Because, you know, that does happen. So not perfect in this conversation. I just hold it. Again, I stop talking when I get quiet or when I'm concentrating. So give me a second. You can clamp it if you want, but I just found that clamping it did not exactly work for me. You're going to find out what works for you, of course. Okay. Everything looks good. I don't have to, I have to recenter that. Let me loosen this up a little. And this is why you could stick it down. I just found like I was wasting more time sticking it down and fighting with it. I'm doing this live. I do a bunch of these all day long and I don't have a problem. But because I moved my tension earlier today, I'm having the issues. And we all have them. Not a saint by any reason. This is why I'm not reading the comments too, by the way, because comments will frustrate me right at this point. There we go. That's where I need to be. Okay, I am centered. I'm perfect. I double check all the way down. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Got it. Got it. Make sure I'm where I need. Done. We'll do this again. So once you figure this part out, okay, once you figure out where your tension is, and you don't want this so tight that this is bending. That's the problem. This was too tight that it was literally bending this. And you don't want your cold laminator to be tight. You don't want it to be so tight it's making your board bow. Okay, that's not what you want. That's too tight. All right. And I probably should have just started with a brand new board at that rate, because once it starts bending, it starts going crazy. Okay. So we're going to roll this back onto here. Okay. Now that it's stuck, I can take it, roll it, flip it. Now the problem is where I normally stand is right here because I am right-handed. So I'm going to try to do this differently and probably move this, just turn this like this, because it is hard for me because I am right-handed. That's half the problem. Now before I finish it, I want to see where this edge is. I want to make sure that it stays up. Sorry, I'm going to be in front of the camera. Okay. And then I could trim it if I want, but I'm just going to roll it in through. Now, would I normally have gone through and probably trim this? Yes. The reason being, it's just because I will just do like a really generic trim. Okay. So that I don't have any issues with this. I'll go through, I'll trim this all up, and there you go. I will probably redo the side, to be very honest with you. Here, let's move this up to you. You see me? Hi. So I probably will redo the sign. And the only reason I'm going to probably redo this sign is because the corrugated board is bent. And I don't like the fact that it's bent. And that was a me problem. Otherwise, I'm okay with how it looks. I just have to trim this up and then we'll be off to the races. That would be my only thing. Test your board first. Have a board that you don't mind it getting messed up. And the reason for that being is because, again, if it's too tight, you're going to end up with a bend. You end up with issues. Whereas if you have this guy, you know, hard to see right now, but you should be able to see these little ridges, but you don't want it to be so tight that these ridges are having an issue. All right. So there is that. Yes, you just have to have it loose enough. That was one comment that Mel, you want it loose enough to where you can push it through, but not so loose that it doesn't stick to the board. And that's what happened with me. It was too loose so that it created air bubbles. So that's not an issue. Normally, when you get into your own groove, you do. The point of this is, Marvin showed me where you take it, put your sticker down, weight it, pull it back the paper, and that's how he showed me do it. I've been doing it that way for 2 years now. But then, like I said, with the TikTok, I found that I could go in and skip that step if I put it all on my cold laminator. Normally, I have my cold laminator on a table, but again, because I was trying to do a tutorial, I had to do it in the middle of the room, and this is what I had. So you got to deal with it. Figure out how you want to do it. Put it through. I'm going to do another sign, start to finish without this one. And then if I get quiet, you'll understand why. We're going to do another sign because I have to do another sign. Okay. Just going to watch me go through the motions. Okay. So I go in, I'm going to rough cut this. I don't need it to be perfect. I do want one edge. I will go in and cut the edge. But again, even that doesn't need to be 100% perfect. And the reason for that is because, well, I added a bleed. So that's the one edge that I'll meet it up with. I'm going to cut off this excess stuff so that it's not so bulky. I don't ever really worry about it. See, can you see me? Perfect. Okay. There she goes. See how easy that was? I just kind of just put it through. You want to be able to just, there you go. See how easy that was to go through? Okay. You don't want to fight it. Now I'm going to move in front of the camera sort of because I am right-handed and I'm used to doing it from one angle. Okay, I pull it up, peel it back. Again, everybody does theirs differently. Mel does hers differently. Mel and Marvin does his differently. Lisa may do hers differently. But it doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. I tuck this paper in, I round and tuck it in. Okay. Then I bring this back. So now it's stuck to the board. Bring it over. Grab this top edge. And there you go. That's all there is to it. So that one turned out much better because I had my pressure. Again, you should definitely see the flutes in this, and then that's how you know you did a really good job. Now, if you're unsure, once you get it all done, even if you didn't get like this bottom edge, I just go like this because it was the top edge that I did, and I'll just gently push it down. When I go to put the backside one on, this is going to all get pushed down eventually too. So let's just trim this up. Let me find my X-acto knife again. There it is. Now, I don't try to trim them both at the same time. I haven't mastered that yet. Maybe the great ones above, beyond me have managed to do this. I have not managed to figure out how to master trimming both sides at the same time, and I'm not about to figure it out. This is what works. So, I'm not fixing what's not broken right at the moment. Okay. Now, if you want to cut different shapes out of signs, you absolutely can. All right. Up on the floor so the dogs don't take it. Okay, let's do the back side. So now for this back side, I trimmed it and started over here. I'm going to start on this edge. So when you flip it, okay. So if I'm doing the back side, I want to do, yes. Now, could I have used my straight edge for this? Absolutely, I could have. Again, it's all part of your workflow. Somebody asked me about my workflow the other day. Nikki, how do you accomplish everything in a day? And I said, well, it's about planning. That's what it comes down to. It's all about the planning. So I want this. Oh, I got to trim that edge. I could do it this way. Yes. Okay. So when you want to double check your sign, you take the sign and you flip it to make sure that it is the same way. Ask me how I know. I have put it together a lot of signs, and I have done quite a few where I've screwed up the orientation of said sign. Okay. Not exactly hard once you get into the flow. Move it forward. I like to rest this sticky piece on here when I'm doing this, because again, it just makes life easier. Roll it down. Make sure it's nice and rolled onto there. Sometimes I'll come back. Okay. And there's side two, and it's all done. And there we have, that is a perfect sign. Okay. It literally has no bubbles. It was perfect in this. Now I just have to trim it up and we are all done. That's it. Nothing too crazy. I am going to go to the comment section real quick. Have you not looking at my stomach? Trim one edge. Face down on the cutting mat, use plastic guide. Yeah, I used to do it that way. I absolutely used to do it that way. And then I saw TikTok where they literally just put it through the cold laminator, didn't even cut it, and just tucked it in. And I must have watched the video like 5 times because I was like, wait a minute, Marvin and I do it differently. And so I just started doing it that way. And it kind of cut down on my time because I would fight more with sometimes the edge. And I just found I worked a lot easier that way. And that's actually how I do my stickers. When I'm laminating my stickers, I literally don't even do it the way you do the yard signs. I will just line it up at the top because there's enough room at the top, shove it through, do what I need to do, and keep on going. And so that's just how I started doing it. Never got into work for us, so we use Rapid Tack. It's wet and we squeegee them. See, I tried the Wrap Attack. I could not get the Wrap Attack to work for me the way I wanted to. So it's each your own. Everybody is going to do what they need to do, what works for them. And at the end of the day, if you pick up a tip or a trick, no matter what it is, however you can make your workflow better, keep right on going. There is no right or wrong way to doing just about anything. It's just what works for you at the end of the day. So there you go. That's it in a nutshell. I'm going to be doing probably some more late night quick tutorials. I've had a lot of questions on doing some things, so I'll be doing those. So thanks guys so much for the quick tutorial, crazy one, how to fix your mess if you do what I did. And know that, don't worry, at the end of the day, it's just a sticker. You can figure it out. Talk to y'all real soon. You know where, on the flip side.